Jay, I
Uh-oh. What do you think of the bill today?
Yeah, I'm muted.
I'm muted.
The sound is off. That is weird.
We've never had.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay.
Now it's showing you're muted. Okay.
There you go. I was
It's not
muting.
showing
I was
you.
muting you.
Oh, well, that's why I'm like, mine keeps showing. Mine keeps going off.
Okay, I got it now. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect.
My fault.
There we go.
So today, September 17th, this workshop, this evening, we'd like to welcome County Administrator Kim.
Yeah.
And would you like to go ahead and start your presentation?
Actually, I'm Commissioner Raines. I'm giving the report to
Oh,
begin
okay.
with, and then I'll introduce Sam.
Okay.
So I want to thank the mayor and the council for having us tonight. I typically do regular county updates for the cities or communities within my jurisdiction at least once a year, if not a little more often. I usually see Hoquiam and Ocean Shores a little more often than that. We have a lot going on at the county. Just for situational awareness, we're up to about 78,000 in population in Grays Harbor, and county government employs approximately upwards of 450 to 500 employees. We've had a lot of changes in the last year. We hired our first ever county administrator, Sam Kim, who says that this is his best job he's ever had. And I'm excited to have him here with us tonight to give you an update. We're going to go very quickly because we only have 30 minutes, and I know Jeff's just chomping at the bit to come after. We also recently hired a chief operating officer, and that position, Sam will maybe hit on it a little bit, but that position is, it's a one-year contract with the potential of 3 years. They are going to be looking at ways that we can really maximize the efficiencies that we have and prioritize, consolidate, and really look at our accounting and management services division. We have a lot of accounting people across the county, from fairgrounds to the health department to the county and utilities and roads, et cetera, that we'd like to have them more combined and put together so that they can bring some efficiencies to the table. Another thing that we're working on is some financial software. We've been having updates and meetings regarding the software programs available to us out there. We currently have a house-built system that is quite old and has what I would say outlived its efficiencies for us. We're looking at a new program that will provide us with the ability to run reports easier, to have more accuracy, less human error when you're having to code things and then enter them multiple times. So a lot of times that happens. And primarily around budget, regular finance vouchers, and payroll, along with other components that we can add as well. One of the things that's been very important to me has been planning. That comes from my career background, working for a financial planning firm. And it's been a priority since I've been a commissioner. And so far, we have a capital facilities plan. We're working to do a comp plan. We are looking at parks plans, and we're amidst doing a strategic plan. Strategic plan was brought to the table a decade ago. I wished had the wherewithal to move forward at that time, but it didn't happen. But it's happening now, and we're seeing great planning going on. This is probably the most cohesive commission that I've worked with in the last 11 years. And I just have some great seatmates too, that we work well together. We don't always agree, which is a good thing. Oftentimes we disagree, which is perfectly fine. I do think that one of the things that I think Sam will hit on is our budget. We've brought some, you have a handout there. I also brought a booklet. Sam created these, but this is the salary commission and the elected officials cohort. So I'll leave those with the mayor tonight. And then Sam's going to email them as well over to Casey so that she can send you a copy electronically. But we've done a lot of work administratively over the last year. One of the biggest things that we did was with our budget. We have budgeted kind of in a backwards way. And instead of taking those savings at the front end, we've been taking them on the back end. And so we did reversed it last year with Sam. This is our transitional year, and it's going great. It's going great. We're not at that fiscal cliff that we had projected, and we actually have a surplus. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sam. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself, and then we'll leave time for any questions that you may have.
So thank you so much, Commissioner Rains. It's a pleasure for me to be here in the great city of Cosmopolis. What an amazing name for the city. I thought it was just in the superhero movies that cities were named like that, but no, it's one of the oldest cities in the state of Washington. So it's not new, but it just sounds amazing. So thank you for having me here, Mayor and council members. Some of you may have heard my presentation before. This is an update, also because we have so little time, it's abbreviated. Also, I'd like to leave any room for questions if you have any. Okay? All right, so I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'm going to talk about exceptional organization that we want the county to become. All right, so fast forward to, go back to December 25th, many, many years ago when I was a 10-year-old kid, and we arrived in America. We flew into SeaTac, and I didn't realize it at the time, we were just going to America. You know, I didn't realize America was a dreamland, it's an opportunity for everybody and so forth. It was just a new country for us. The reason why that's so important is because both my parents were refugees in South Korea. They had property in what's now North Korea, but it was one united Korea back then. And then when it became divided, they went to South Korea. My father joined the Republic of Korean Army, the ROK Army, and fought against North Koreans. So it was basically a civil war, but we didn't really have a home after that. So America became my home. So how many of you know where Gate, Washington is? Anybody? Gate, Washington.
Gates.
Yes, on the way to Rochester, you make a left on the Moon Road, and
Just
there's
out of Oakville.
yes, exactly right. Right. So a Mormon family sponsored us, and we lived in Gate, Washington, and went to Rochester Elementary School. I did anyway. My siblings went to middle school and high school.
Do you
So,
want to tell them which one of those is you?
okay, so can you guess which one is me?
The youngest one.
I was gonna say.
The baby in arms? That's my younger brother.
Okay.
He's a Boeing engineer. This is my older sister. She's in the state legislature. And this is my older brother. He's a doctor. And there's me,
I was
right?
gonna guess that one.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to say a little more about that because when we came to America, I learned that in America, they actually celebrate people who ask hard questions, who will go against the rules. And, you know, as long as you obey the law and work hard, you know, I realized you can just really succeed in America. But we were a traditional Korean family. And for asking lots of questions, I was a very inquisitive child. I challenged the authorities, status quo, everything. You know, you name it, I was trouble. Not that I was rotten little kid, although Koreans would say I was. But, I just like to ask questions about everything. Why do we have to do that? I just want to know, right? My fourth grade teacher at Rochester Elementary School loved this little kid from a foreign country that can't hardly speak English, go get into everything and ask all sorts of questions, wanted to sit up in the front row. And I thrived. I got A's in school in America, whereas for doing the same thing, at home I was punished. So I loved school. School became a place where I could be safe and I could actually learn and grow. So America, what a great country. I decided that I'm an American. No more of this Korean stuff. Okay. So, but it gets even better for me because in Gate, Washington, there was something called Drew's Berry Farm within just a short walking distance. In my first summer in America, I picked 2,000 pounds of blueberries. That's a lot of money. That's $160 for a little kid way back when, several decades ago. That's like 5 bicycles I could buy. It was huge. Of course, being the traditional Korean family, they took all my earnings and put it into my savings account. What? I couldn't spend it? They said, no, this is something for you in the future. I go, so I'm gonna work even harder. So I delivered newspapers, I mowed lawns, I worked at Burgerville, USA. I just did everything and anything to get that money, right? Because that's where I can buy my sweets. That's where it's freedom to go to the movies and ultimately drive cars, date girls. And, it was everything I could do was because of the hard work, right? I was in heaven. But it gets even better because it's just 7. By the way, how many of you know what FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America? Okay. So I had no idea what that was, right? But 7 years after coming to America, I was elected the state president of Washington State FBLA. Can you imagine? A kid that can't even speak English very well, spoke with a heavy accent, and was able to join a local FBLA club. And because I could type 100 words a minute, for some reasons, because my father, kind of disciplined us. You're going to learn English. You're going to learn English by typing. So we had to copy English books and single space and put out a page of typed written copies every day, 1 page every day. So that's how we learned English, is by transcribing these things. But also it was on a manual typewriter, so I learned how to type like this, right? And then computers came along, right? Oh my gosh, I could keyboard. I could just massage the keyboard with all 10 fingers, and it was amazing. In 4th grade, I produced homework, typewritten homework. Teachers were so impressed, right? Wow, this is great stuff. So when I became the state president of FBLA, it was wonderful. I got to travel all over the state, and I got to talk and give speeches and so forth. My English skill improved. My public speaking skills improved. I think every child should have this opportunity to be able to stand in front of a crowd and address them in a way that, you can deliver a coherent message, right? Instead of getting all nervous. I was still very nervous. But my family would say, Papa, and my wife would say, Sam, you probably peaked at high school, because it was all downhill from all the way after that. But it gets even better for me because I joined the US Navy. After college. Navy paid for my college. So this is on me on USS Niagara Falls, the bridge. I was the officer of the deck underway, and this is me in the Hong Kong harbor. It was 5 years I spent in the Navy. I was proud to serve, but I was eagerly wanted to get out of the Navy so I can get started as an engineer, right? So I joined Hewlett-Packard Company, HP in Vancouver, Washington. Moved there, had twin boys, and of course then before that I got married, bought a house, new job. I did all life-changing events in 1 year, right? Just got them all out of the way. So while I was at Hewlett-Packard Company in Vancouver, Washington, as if I didn't have enough to do, I went to police academy and became a reserve deputy for the Clark County Sheriff's Office. It was eye-opening to be a police officer. Totally different world. You see a totally different side of the society. So far, it's all been a Pollyanna, yeah, kids in high school were on drugs and they did some stuff and so forth. But, I decided to be a rebel in the other way, that I was gonna go against the crowd and not do drugs and not partake in the parties and so. Nobody invited me to any keggers, although most of my friends did go to keggers. Is it still called keggers? Oh, okay. I had no
At
idea.
least in my day.
And I had no idea what a keg stand was, or whatever that was, right? So naive. But as a reserve deputy, boy, there was a whole other side of the world. So after Hewlett Packard, working there for 20 years, I rose to the level of a general manager of a division, a global enterprise. It was quite an honor to be able to do that. But of course, what happens in a corporate world, the higher you get, what happens? First downturn, first consolidation, first change in technology, what happens? They lay off the general manager, and they took all my engineers, they took all my marketing people, all my salespeople, and I was laid off. Well, so much for that for 20 years. Good news is I actually have retirement from HP, so at least that was something. So after HP, I ended up working for 3 counties. Clark County in Washington State, I was the Chief Information Officer for Clark County. I was in IT, technology, Hewlett Packard, right? And then I went to Santa Clara County in California, San Jose, Silicon Valley. I thought it was amazing to be at the mecca of technology, right? And then after that, so COVID happened, and I wanted to come home. I didn't want the world to end far away from home. So I came back to Pacific Northwest and ended up in Washington County, Oregon, in Hillsboro. And through it all, my private experience, my county experience, as an IT guy, we had a front row seat into how things worked everywhere. And in every single one of these counties, my job was to turn around the department, and I did. In Clark County, for example, we went from the lowest performing, lowest employee satisfaction score department, nobody wanted to work in IT, to the highest in one year. And people started wanting to work for IT even though they were not IT professionals. So we actually were able to hire some of them because of their enthusiasm, their willingness to learn, and their ability to pick things up quickly. And so there is a great career path being in the technology. However, we saw everything. We saw the dysfunctions of all these counties, no different than in the private sector. It's all the same, right? As a department head, I wanted to do more. But when you're a nerd, when you're a tech guy, well, and you want to do more than that, they tell you, no, stay in your lane, right? I got told that over and over again in all of these areas. So I decided, hey, we know all these, we know how to improve things because I did it at these departments. How do we do it organization-wide? So I formed my own mission statement. So the reason why I formed this mission statement is because how do I, as a leader personally, exhibit the behaviors I want to see in others, right? Into my subordinates, my bosses, my peers, and so forth. When I talk to my peers about these kind of things, other department heads, if you will, they go, yeah, we know all this. Great mission statement, thank you. So you know all this, how come you're not doing it? And their answer is always, oh, my boss this, the county manager that, my peers this, the union is always the boogeyman. And I tell you, they're not. They can be our biggest allies. So they would blame anything and everything except for themselves. So I thought, I got to change the script. How do I take responsibility, right? So I started living this mission statement. And it's started producing results, which was pretty amazing. So the courage to ask the hard questions, right? What's one of the biggest things happening in any organization? It's fear. There's just fear everywhere. And I tell people, you work for the county, you have the safest jobs in the world. Unlike me, when I worked in the high-tech sector, you get laid off for no reason. right? Massive, 10,000 people being laid off at Microsoft, right? It just happens constantly, right? So we have incredibly safe jobs. So why not be courageous? Why not take chances? Why not ask the questions that my fourth grade teacher in America taught me how to do? This is the American way. How come we're not doing it in the county? It was a mystery to me. So how do we then move on to just standard organization where fewer rules, where dysfunction is there, where it's very fragmented, and people fight for turf and titles, right? Turf and titles. That's the coin of the realm in the government organizations I worked in. I wanted to eliminate that, right? So how do you build this exceptional organization that everybody seems to know about? Everybody seems to know how to get there, but hardly anybody does it. You can think of exceptional cities, exceptional counties, exceptional companies that have 90% market share, that does so much with so little, right? So it's not about revenue. It's not about the workforce, right? It's, in my opinion, I form absolute belief that it is all about leadership. So let's talk about how we can get there. So in 2015, 10 years ago, we had an opportunity here in Grace Harbor County to do something different, to become that exceptional organization. How many of you know Shelley Hofstetter? Anybody? No? Wow, a whole bunch of hands go up when I talk to Lions and Rotary and other. Shelley Hofstetter is with Port. 10 years ago, she came to the county because she was having a lot of success at the Port. And I'm not going to read this, but I'm going to point out a couple of key comments here. So we have a reactive atmosphere where budget drives policy decisions versus a proactive environment where policy and direction drive the budget. Imagine that. Figure out what we want to do and then get the budget, grant, whatever to do it. But I'm working with another organization that Commissioner Raines is chair of, and I was aghast. I go, wow, you're having a board retreat and your message is you'll do whatever the grants allowed? And I go, no, you should figure out what you want to do, form the strategy, and then go after those grants. Don't be kind of reacting to whatever funds are available and that's what you'll do. Because it may not be anything, So I have some great examples, but due to time, I'm not going to go into those. Okay, so one of the first things we did was stabilize our budget. Commissioner Raines talked about how we have brought all the savings up front so that now we have the availability and so forth. So I want to graphically demonstrate that we have had deficit spending, deficit budgeting, and then this year, all of a sudden, surplus budgeting. How did we do that, right? It's a miracle, right? How do we find the money and so forth? Well, so as it turns out, a lot of it because we have a budget that hardly anybody could understand. It is illustrated in this 2024 budget book. If you've seen it, it is nothing but bunch of numbers, right? I read this during my interview, and it confused me more than anything else, okay?
It's a bunch of barcodes,
Yes.
basically, and account codes.
Bars numbers, right? So we said, no, we're gonna have a budget book that's actually understandable, that's legible. We're gonna describe what each one of the fund numbers are. And we're gonna have graphs, right? Like this, that illustrates where we're going. And there's a letter from Commissioner Raines, from the previous chair, Commissioner Pine. And there's a letter from me, a letter from the budget director, and indicating what we're doing with our budget, right? And it explains every single fund and what they are. I use this every day because we have so many funds, when things you can do with it, things you can't do with it, and so forth. This is our lifeline. This will tell us what we can do, what we can't do. This allows us to dream and think big because all of a sudden we have the funds that always existed, but we didn't know because it was squirreled away into other people's budget that was not visible collectively. Now, department heads, offices, they knew about it, but their own thing.
Silos.
Yes, when we unite together as a county, all of a sudden the county has a surplus. Magic, right? It's little things like these that have made a huge difference for us. Okay, I'm running out of time, so I gotta move fast. Okay, so I said we're gonna just do block and tackle. Okay, I've been here 13 months, and my job was to stabilize the ship. okay? So I formed the cabinet, we started meeting as department heads, which we haven't been doing regularly. I think we met once a year. No, we're gonna meet once every 2 weeks. And we began what's called the 360-degree performance evaluation. That is standard way of doing performance evaluation in the Silicon Valley. You don't want some boss in the dark corner writing evaluation about you. You wanna know what your peers think, what other bosses think, your customers think, and so forth. It's a very simple process. I now use ChatGPT to write the performance evaluation based upon 360-degree feedback that I gather. It writes performance evaluations that are way better than I could write. Okay, so stop hemorrhaging spend. We were spending money on things that I didn't know why it was so important to do that when we were in a budget crisis. And then just addressing the need for perfection. Have you noticed government employees tend to be very black and white, that if it's not perfect, we aren't gonna do it. If your application is not perfectly filled out, go back to the beginning, right? I mean, we tend to do that. No, we're gonna work together. We're gonna say how this is gonna get better, and we're gonna improve on it until we ultimately do get to perfection. Because we're human, we're gonna make mistakes. And we should understand, we as employees make mistakes, and community out there, they make mistakes as well. We should give grace to each other and forgive and move on instead of being punitive and territorial and lording over people. Okay. Sorry if you don't have no idea what I'm talking about, I apologize, but if it hits home too closely, I apologize for that too. So there's more to do. We're using what's called target-based budgeting. This is my sneaky way of introducing what's called zero-based budgeting, which we'll eventually get to, where you ultimately have to justify every single line of expense. Okay, we'll get there. I know it's hard because we tried it in other counties and we can't get there in day one, but baby steps. We're using the mantra, we're gonna standardize our processes, we're gonna centralize 5 different ways of doing the same thing into a single way of doing things. We're gonna consolidate organizations because we have one of the largest finance people I have ever seen in a county, and we're a tiny little county. Why do we have just a massive number of people doing finance stuff? It's because they're needed, because we're doing everything manually, right? If we automate it, it could probably free up. My estimate is lots of people, free up lots of people. Through it all, through budget cuts, I said, no layoffs, no furloughs, no salary reductions, and no demotions. And people couldn't believe it because I talked to other counties, other county administrators, and they're doing exactly the furloughs, the layoffs, and so forth. And they can't believe that we, having had so much budget crisis, where we're gonna go bankrupt in 2 years. We were.
And people were afraid. People were afraid that they were gonna, you can say that you're not gonna lay off or you're not gonna do furloughs, and people still are skeptical. But we had one of the issues, and just to put it in relative terms, we would budget, and then at the end of the year, what you don't spend comes back. Well, there was a lot of allocations that weren't being spent year after year. So for example, in January, when we realized at the end of 2024, we got back $1.6 million from the sheriffs. We got back almost $1 million from the prosecutor's office that they didn't spend. So we flipped it around and now get that on the front end so that we can invest it or plan for it accordingly going forward. And it's a much better practice. It's hard because you have individuals, and Sam knows this as well as I do, that you come in and go, well, why are we doing it this way? And the standard answer is, because that's the way we've always done it. And it's been challenging to see not have the buy-in. But having a county administrator over the 3, he's actually under the 3 of us, but he helps kind of shepherd us through. And that's really, really made a tremendous difference because we are one now, one. Sorry.
So I'm gonna skip a whole bunch of things because we're at time. Just wanna say, I've had an exceptional life here in America. If a poor kid from Korea with nothing, we brought to America nothing except our skills and our desire to learn and grow and so forth, can have a dream job here at Grace Harbor County and do everything I ever wanted to do, right? The commissioners have given me tremendous latitude and permission. There was a time when I thought I had to submit my resignation because people were not used to this, and they were complaining about me to everybody, and including the commissioners. They held fast, and they said, "We've got to let Sam do his job." And I thought, okay, I'm gonna tuck away my resignation letter. Okay, here we go. So if somebody like me, somebody like in our family, right, came to America with nothing, can achieve so much, because America has so much to give and it's such great opportunity. Now, gotta remember, we didn't do this because we were forbidden from taking any welfare, right? We had to earn every single penny, right? And, it's a matter of pride. And, as a 10-year-old kid, learning the value of the dollar and work and how to spend wisely, and just accelerate as you become more skilled and as you become college graduate and you learn and grow, there is no ending. So this American exceptionalism is what I buy into, and I want Grace Harbor County to also be exceptional, and we'll get there, because I am not happy with just riding the ship. We're gonna make this ship fly. So here's our contact info. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? We're right at the 6:30 mark, so
Thank you for the presentation. I greatly appreciate it, and I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you again, Vicki, for coming out. Sounds like you got some good things going on at the county level.
we really do. It's been pretty impressive to see staff even come together, and when you say, okay, we're gonna look at the 2025 budget for this year, last fall, about a year ago, and say, you need to go back and start with your 2024 beginning fund balances and reduce by 10%. Well, we have union contracts that are gonna have increases, salary, too bad, go down to the 2024, cut 10%, and we're not gonna let you drown, and we haven't.
And Sam, it sounds like you and I should do some talking later. Looks like we've chewed some of the same dirt.
There you go. I love that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. That was amazing.
We'll go ahead and move on through.
So I'd like to give you our budget book.
Thank you. I was gonna ask you,
I was
how do I
like,
get one
It's
of
like a
these?
textbook. That's great.
Yeah,
You're gonna be right now.
Exciting reading.
yeah. This will be my bedtime storybook.
So I want Jeff to come up.
Yes, and we're gonna hook Jeff up here.
Here you go. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to trip you.
That's okay.
And Vicki, if you would go ahead and do Jeff when he's ready, please.
True.
All right, thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Share your
Thank you,
screen
Sam.
for us.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you for your service.
Well, Jeff gets situated. Again, Vicki Rains, I chair the Chehalis Basin Board that is part of the Office of Chehalis Basin. And we are doing routine presentations, if you will, to the jurisdictions within the basin. And tonight's the night for Cosmopolis. So we have Jeff Zank here. He has been the director for a year and a half, 2 years?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. And he's going to go through the presentation. You may have seen it before if you've been at one of the other events locally, but it's pretty important. We're doing a lot of work right now trying to get ready to make some pretty tough decisions in 2026 regarding flood mitigation and flood reduction, levees, dams, everything's on the table there. We have a pretty diverse board with 2 county commissioners, 2 different tribal representatives. We have a state team from ecology to the conservation district on. Jeff will go through that. But the biggest thing is getting the word out so that we are going to have a public meeting in March, and you're all invited to that. And I won't steal any more of your thunder, so I'll throw it over to you.
Thanks, Vicki. I'm Jeff Zank, the Director of Office of Chehalis Basin, and I gotta tell you that we're very fortunate to have Commissioner Rains as the chair. She is showing exceptional leadership and maintained a collaborative approach for the board, and it's been a really important part of our success. So she's been great. So today I want to talk a little bit about kind of what got us here, the background of the board a little bit, and the Office of Chehalis Basin, and what we've done and what we hope to do. I'm just hoping I can see if I can get rid of. Yeah. Oops, sorry. Oh, I'm all over the place.
It's not showing on here, it just might be the TV too, because it's on the recording, your
Oh,
screen
okay.
looks great.
Okay. So a little bit about the Chehalis Basin. Probably not telling you much you don't know, but it is the second largest watershed in the state. It's 2,700 square miles. It's 3,200 miles of streams and tributaries. We have two tribes within the basin, the Quinault Nation and the Chehalis tribe. There's really four population centers. In the upper basin, it's Centralia Chehalis. In the lower basin, Aberdeen Hoquiam. But we all know that Cosmopolis is the center of the basin in the universe. So all the communities within the basin are important, and the board takes all those into consideration. It's also a very big economic engine for the region. We have everything from timber and agriculture to fishing, and some large businesses here as well. And we have some major problems in the basin. Salmon runs have declined dramatically. They're about 80% of what they historically have been. We've also seen floods getting bigger and more frequent. And so those are some of the things that the board is trying to tackle. So how things began, the 2000 and 2009 floods. The 2007 flood created almost $1 billion in damage. It closed off I-5 and tremendous damage throughout the basin. And so, although there was work being done pre-2007, it wasn't in any kind of organized fashion. And after that, in 2008, the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority was created. It's still around today. Commissioner Rains sits on there. And then in 2012, Governor Gregoire created the Chehalis Basin Work Group to deal with both flood and fish-related issues at the same time. For years, there were flood people that fought and fish people that fought against the flood people, and now, when the work group was brought together, it was to tackle both of those issues at the same time. And then finally, in 2016, the legislature created the Chehalis Basin Board and the Office of Chehalis Basin. And once that started in 2017, investments on both fish and flood projects started. So a little bit about the board. It's very diverse. We have representatives from the environmental community, tribes, business, agriculture. So a big variety of people and personalities and interests. And their charge is to develop a long-term strategy for both flood damage reduction and aquatic species restoration throughout the basin. And that's what we're calling the Chehalis Basin Strategy, which is basically investments in the near term to tackle things as they come, but also a long-term strategy to deal with both flood and fish issues for the 30-plus years to come. And what's unique about the board is that they take a collaborative approach. There are no 3 to 4 votes. They work together to come up with a consensus. And, as one board member said, for 100 years, people fought over fish and flood. And today, with this collaborative approach, we're moving the needle and getting things done. And so far, so good. A little bit about the Office of Chehalis Basin was created at the same time the board was. We're housed in the Department of Ecology. We're a small but mighty staff. And our major goal and charge is to administer state funds and implement the board's policies related to fish and flood. We work with, like the board, a very diverse group of partners, tribes, conservation districts, nonprofit organizations, local governments, and basin residents. So what do we do together? We work with landowners to slow erosion and work on habitat restoration. We help residents and communities protect homes and businesses from flood damage and try to prepare the region as a whole for catastrophic flooding that's more likely to be happening sooner and faster. So we've gotten a lot done in less than a decade, about 8 years. There's been over 140 projects that we've completed, protecting nearly 300 acres of habitat and over 200 homes and businesses protected, and it's been done on time and on budget. So now through 2026, the board is considering longer-term, larger-scale options to protect both people and fish for decades to come. So one of the questions they're seeking to answer is how much should be invested in aquatic restoration, habitat restoration within the basin. Some estimates say that for a 30-year plan to be implemented fully, it could cost as much as $1 billion. And then another big question out there for the board is, are there large-scale projects for flood that should be considered? For example, the flow-through dam for flood control up near Pial. There's also a proposed system of local levees and flood walls that in and around Chehalis, and or should there be a combination of both? So the flow-through dam near Pial, essentially the concept is that it would remain open 24/7, 360, and would only close when there would be a predicted catastrophic flood. And at that time, it would hold the water back and then slowly let that, once it was safe, slowly let that water out over time. They estimate in the last 20 years, it would have only been closed twice. And like any large-scale project like this, of course, there are going to be environmental impacts. So it is currently going through environmental review by the Army Corps of Engineers and the Department of Ecology. Ecology's draft environmental impact statement is due out in November, so it's right around the corner. And a little lesser known timeline with the federal side, but sounds like spring of next year. So as an alternative to the dam, the board has looked at what we are calling local actions non-dam alternative, but land for short. And so what it is a system of levees and flood walls, primarily around Centralia and Chehalis, that protect those areas from flooding. It does not protect flooding down in the lower basin as the flow-through dam would. And it's just a conceptual design right now. It has not, if the board was to decide to move forward with it, they'd have to do further examination and in terms of alignments and things like that. And also, it would be another large-scale project that potentially had environmental impacts, and it would have to go through the same process that the flow-through dam is going through right now, but we're not there yet. So another big question is, what should be done with the Skookumchuck Dam? So it was built in 1970, and at the time, it did not have any fish passage, and it was not designed to help with flood control. It's currently owned by TransAlta that has the two coal-fired steam plant facilities in Centralia, but they are decommissioning those, and so they're kind of changing their, what they intend to do. So they do have water rights that they're sharing with, in part, with the cities of Centralia and Chehalis. And so part of the question is how do you preserve the water rights for the company, yet still provide improvements to the dam? So the board is considering 3 different options there. One is modification that would improve fish passage and change the dam operation to better control for flooding. 2 is a complete dam removal. And 3 is do nothing. Any dam removal would require, some sort of off-channel storage or something like that for the water that's currently behind the dam to preserve those water rights. And anything that would happen there would have to be with the cooperation of TransAlta that owns the property in the dam. In the lower basin, we're supporting the North Shore Levee project. We've committed quite a few dollars for that and continue to do so. We just passed through, I think, $17 million from the last biennium, and we have another 17 million or so that we're going to be passing through soon to keep the project moving. Federal funding has drawn some of this into question, but we are doing everything we can to move the project forward. And we're helping in other ways too. So with the Flood Authority, they have a number of projects that we've completed here, which are major pump stations that would pump out the water behind the levees and protect those communities. So lots being done down here as well. So this June, the board came together and they decided on a preliminary suite of 6 different options as far as the long-term strategy goes. And they want to further evaluate those. And that's going on now, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But this is kind of the options. I know it's kind of hard to read, but I'll try to explain it. On the left, the darker column are those things that have not been decided on by the board yet. And that includes what I've talked about, the flow-through dam for flood control, the proposed levee system or land, and the Skookumchuck Dam. On the right, those other things, the board largely agrees that these things need to be a component of any kind of long-term strategy. And so that is the Aquatic Species Restoration Plan, flood proofing and elevations and property acquisitions, the Flood Authority local projects like the pump stations and others, the flood warning system, which by the way is run by the Flood Authority. However, it's also received multiple national awards for being one of the best in the nation. And considering some of the things that have happened recently in Texas about flood warnings and things like that, it's some peace of mind that we have an excellent system in place here and continue to improve on it. This also includes some sort of floodplain management and working with local governments about land use and transportation and planning around the floodplain. Erosion management, it's protecting properties that could potentially be destroyed through erosion and trying to think longer term, how can we address erosion issues? The Satsuf is one example of a river which extreme erosion problems, and it's affected a lot of property owners there. So that's another one. And then finally, the multi-benefit acquisition, which is basically acquiring properties that not only improve the environment for fish, but also have flood protection benefits as well. So if you look at the suite of options A through F, on the left corner is the proposed flow-through dam. So 2 of the options are looking at the dam. Both of them are including portions of the levees, primarily around the Skookumchuck. The dam does not protect the Dakota and parts of Centralia that are along the Skookumchuck, so those are included. If there are some low-touch options like C, where they're not including anything in terms of the dam or the levees or modification of the Skookumchuck and just doing more on-the-ground, hands-on things. And then there's a few that are looking at the land proposal as well, or portions of it. So that's kind of the synopsis of what the board is considering, and you should know that none of these are like set in stone. In the end, the board might say, okay, well, let's do, part of option A and part of option C or D or something like that. They can put things back, together in the end. So right now, what's happening is we're having these options evaluated by technical experts. The board wants these decisions to be made based in science and informed by, real information. So some of the questions are, how many homes will be protected? What are the impacts to salmon and steelhead? And what kind of long-term economic and environmental effects might be from any one of these projects? So we're looking at everything from, benefit to cost analysis to impacts to recreation and a whole suite of different things that the board is going to be able to look at each one of these options and how it impacts and how it compares to the other options out there. So as the board is considering these things, they want to hear from you, from local governments and your community. Because it's not only informed, their decisions won't be informed not only by science and facts, but also what's best for the communities and the people within the basin and the region. And so that's why we're out here, is kind of trying to let people know what we're up to. This is kind of a timeline. So the board in the spring has come up with the original suite of options, and now we're studying them. And sometime next year, the board will make deliberations. They'll have all the information at hand. They'll make some deliberations. We'll reach out to the public again for more input. And then they'll make a decision sometime in 2026. And I skipped through it, and I'm going to jump back. Or maybe I didn't. Oh, here it is. So one of the things that we're doing to reach out to residents is that we're having 2 informational open houses, one on the lower basin and one on the upper. So on the 25th, we'll be having one at the Veterans Memorial Hall in Chehalis. And then on the 8th, we'll have one at the Montesano City Hall. And for those that can attend, we currently have online. It's an online open house. It has basically the same information and material that's being provided at the in-person open houses. And you can go there at any time, and that's openhouse.officeofchehalisbasin.com. So some of the questions are to you, and you don't necessarily have to answer them tonight, but it's kind of, what do you want the board to know and consider when thinking about a long-term strategy for the basin, and how best can we reach out to the folks in Cosmopolis and engage them in this process? And that concludes it. There's a lot of information out there. There's officeofchehalisbasin.com/long-term strategy. We're on Facebook and YouTube, and we have a newsletter that we send out every month to keep folks informed. So there's lots of ways to stay in touch with what we're up to. And that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
I want to make a quick comment that the work that we're doing as a board, we're doing on behalf of the governor. We're appointed by the governor to do this work. And so we try to work together to come up with potential projects that will solve some of these problems. But I think it's important that we recognize that all of your voices are needed as well. You can go onto the website as Jeff mentioned. There was one other point I was going to make, but I lost it. Any questions from anybody?
Just ask, clearly you all have done a tremendous amount of research and, thought into how to present what you're doing to folks. And obviously we don't have that same expertise. Is there anything that you feel is a special consideration to our region that maybe isn't addressed as fully in your presentation?
I don't think so. I think it's pretty broad, and I'll give you a reason why. And I want to make sure, I believe Casey has the presentation via email, so she can forward it to all of the city council members and staff if they would like, and they can peruse it and get the links if you like via the presentation. But the basin being as large as it is that Jeff described, while we focus on where we'll see reductions in Cosmopolis and from Grand Mound down to here, which the flood warning system will help you with. If you haven't signed up for that, I would encourage you to do that, because flood season starts next month, October, November. But we want to be mindful. I want to know, as a board member and as a resident of Cosmopolis, what are they doing? What's the plan for the upper basin? Because whatever they do in the upper basin is going to end up down in the lower basin. And, you know, there's been talk for years, well, I just pull the Mellon Street Bridge out. It will flood us. If they just decide, okay, well, that's a choke point for that area, we'll take it out. It's going to send the river waters down on us faster, and it's going to cause erosion and a lot more damage. So we want to be able to work together. We are doing projects. The Flood Authority is more of a boots on the ground agency. I believe Mr. Skinner is the
I was
representative.
going to say Mr. Skinner is a representative on this. Also, we're working with Cindy Kaiser for the stormwater comprehensive plan. Isn't this working in conjunction with what you're doing? That was kind of my understanding. Is that correct?
Well,
Yeah.
the stormwater plan is you need a stormwater plan whether you have
Right.
a big, we're talking about major rain
Correct.
events, but we have done projects. We're working on several pump station projects in Hopewind. You probably read over the last year. I know Jeff and I were there for the Fry Creek pump station when they did the ribbon cutting. Huge project in Aberdeen. We've done a flood wall out the Wishkah. We've done farm pads. We've raised homes. Farm pads are they used to call them critter pads when I first started on the board, so that you could run your cattle or your goats or sheep up on these elevated pads made of packed dirt, and to protect them from the floods. Well, we still do that, but then we also have put them into where you can run your equipment on them, or other valuables up on those farm pads. There's lots of diversification, and it is really based upon what is the need in that area. So the Flood Authority works kind of in tandem, more with the city's jurisdictions, and then state agencies more with the Chehalis Basin Board. I hope that helps. I don't know if that makes sense entirely.
Yeah, I thank you for clarifying that. We've had the Flood Authority, come and speak to us also, so I was a little unclear on where the overlap lies.
With the Flood Authority is funded, the legislature funds the Chehalis Basin through the Office of Chehalis Basin, which sits in Department of Ecology, the state. The legislature funded, like for this year, they funded $75 million. We asked for 85.
It was 75.
What did we ask for?
We asked for 80. The governor, in his budget, included 70. We were able to get 75 million out of it.
And then we're gonna go back to the supplemental.
And we're going back this time, asking for the extra 5.
And we were able to hold the prior governor to his word to get the additional 17.5 million for the North Shore Levee project, in addition to the 75 million. So we've been able over the last 8 years to be able to do a lot of work with a tremendous support of the legislature, not just the 19th district, but the 24th, the 20th. Senator Braun's been a huge advocate for us. And
So Commissioner Rains, it's 7 o'clock.
okay,
We're going to get ready to move on to council. Thank you. We'd love to have you back again.
sure, let us know
And we
when, happy
appreciate
to.
that.
I also left each of you a clip. We're doing the Showcase Grace Harbor, but this is the county's swag, so I brought you one. I'm gonna leave one here for Kinsey.
Oh,
Thank you so
and
much.
council, you should have received both of these presentations in your emails, and they're also in your packet here too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Skinner, are you able to talk to us?
Oh, sure am.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to test that. So you can stay muted if you like, or you can be unmuted. Either way, we just want to make sure you can have a chance to ask your questions as well.
Thank you.
All rise for the pledge, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I really need to reach out to the attorney to see if he's got
He's on just as an attendant.
This is Mayor Springer. The date is September 17th, it's 7 o'clock, and I'm going to call the council meeting to order. Clerk Grove, how many citizens are joining us online tonight?
It appears 8.
Okay, how many in-person guests do we have this evening?
Looks like 3.
And can you tell us who is online as far as representing the city this evening?
We do have Attorney Coker online as well as Councilmember Skinner.
And then our other representatives from Aberdeen tonight?
Is
Commander Timmons.
Commander Timmons, yes.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Grove, please do roll call.
Councilmember Skinner?
Present.
Councilmember Nguyen?
Present.
Councilmember Spargo?
Here.
Councilmember Colette?
Here.
Councilmember Darcy?
Here.
Okay. So moving on to approve agenda, is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
I move to approve the agenda.
And please state your name.
Councilperson Darcy.
Is there a second?
Councilmember Colette seconds the motion.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I, Councilmember Colette, move that we approve the consent agenda.
Council Darcy seconds.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
All those, okay, so passes. At this time, council comments. Council members, are there any comments at this time? Okay. Hearing none, we're going to move on to committee reports. Auditing committee.
I'm not on the auditing committee, but I am on the finance committee, and I did look at the vouchers today, and I just want to make one comment about that, is that I would urge this time that we're going into budget talks, that all of the council members take the opportunity to go over and look over the vouchers. They're very informative as far as knowing how everything is being spent, and I think it really enlightens you and gives you a lot of information. So that was just my comment about that.
Okay, thank you. Parks,
No meeting, no report.
okay. Public safety,
No meeting since the last council meeting.
okay. And public works.
So we've wrapped up the water meters that we were tasked with. It's taken a little longer than anticipated, but the guys, we got that done. Hydrant flushes will be started. I believe last time I spoke to Chief Coker that the fire department was gonna aid that process of flushing hydrants. And besides that, they're just trying to batten down the hatches before the winter hits and get those last few summer projects completed. That's all I have.
Thank you. City official report, Cliff Grove.
We are on target with our budget calendar. We will start 2 meetings a month in October, and that will be the first and third Wednesdays. And Tara will be with us during that time, our CPA.
Chief Flaming.
I submitted my written report, but just wanted to highlight from that, Aberdeen probably has more to say about it than me, but significant events that occurred, at least for our small community, unlawful display of a firearm situation where a gun was pulled on somebody else inside of a place of business. A strong response from a lot of officers and thoroughly investigated and resolved. Was grateful for the response. And then we had a bizarre road rage incident that started out in the county, came to an ugly head in the city. Another after-hours response from Aberdeen that ended up becoming a vehicle pursuit. And somebody being arrested for drunk driving and criminal suspended and eluding and whatever else got added to that equation with some very reckless behavior in our community. So I guess to that I'm saying thank you for the strong response and the partnership that we have. I have 127 incidents for myself, but nothing that was not fun.
Commander Timmons, would you like to do the Aberdeen report at this time?
Sure. I just want to echo what Chief said. It's a couple of significant incidents. The one I was going to bring up was the DUI pursuit. It resolved. No one's injured. It was a good resolution. We've had 120 calls so far this year in the city of Cosmopolis. Again, it's been great, seamless working with the city and with Chief Lehman. And I do want to thank the Chief. We had an assessment center recently, which is for a sergeant position. It's kind of a long process, long day. He was willing to help out and dedicate his time to be an evaluator, so we do appreciate that. So.
Thank you. And at this time, our Fire Chief Coker is not present, and our Safety Council member, Mark Collette, will be presenting that information for Chief Coker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Calls for service, Cosmopolis Fire Department is at 16 calls for service since the last council meeting. We are currently at 252 calls for service for the year 2025. Residency program. We have filled the second residency position, still working on filling the third position. New members. We have started the onboarding process with 3 new members and we'll be completing the training. We are excited to have them on board. Lifeline training. Last month we had a scheduled Lifeline training. We were able to do part of the training, but due to weather we were unable to launch the helicopter to the training area. Lifeline training has been rescheduled for September 22nd, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Cosmopolis Lions Club. Cosmopolis Fire Department, along with Grays Harbor and Pacific County Fire District 15, will be conducting an air transport training with our partners of the Lifeline Network. I ask for the citizens in the area to keep a safe distance from the training area for safety precautions. And that concludes the report.
Madam Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
I know I'm not the fire department, but I gotta say the other day we had a significant vehicle fire in the middle of the day, which it tends to be a tough time of the day to have responders because they all have jobs. And I gotta say within a matter of a couple of minutes, a full crew from our station was on scene that were here doing residency through this residency program that they have. And very quick to stop, and hoses were laid out before I could even extend an entire fire extinguisher out, and they were already applying water to it and had it out in a hurry. I know it's not in his report, but it happened probably after he prepared it. But I just thought it was an amazingly good job, and I think some photos are floating around of it, and it's kind of fun seeing such a great job by their crew in a very quick fashion, arriving on scene, putting out a fire that could have been much worse.
And we are planning on getting that out to the public. We'd like to show that our departments are working hard and taking care of business here in this community, and yeah, that was appreciated. Okay, building official, Bill Sedor.
I've been busy working on various different projects, to which I'll be addressing here later on.
The Daniels, the River's Edge project is moving along, the sewer lines are in, and I believe the water lines are gonna be in shortly. I think there were some issues, I think, they were gonna start today, but the things that have to be done with connecting to the city water system, there's certain things that have to be done, so I don't know if it started today or if it's gonna be in the next couple of days or what. So, building permits, I've been issuing mostly just re-roofing permits. There's been a few mechanical permits been issued out, but they're steady.
Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and move into the mayor's report. So I just want to provide information about the workshop that we had with Aberdeen on September 4th. There's been a few questions, a few social media posts, which is pretty common in our community, as it is in many small communities. We did give the council 24-hour notice as required by the OPMA of Washington Act, Chapter 42.30 RCW. This meeting was open to the public, not for a question or answer period. This was an informational period, a meeting for the council as we are working with Aberdeen for a proposed bill and addressing that. It was open to the public because we knew that we would have a council member, Jeremy Nguyen, online and 2 council members in attendance. So the meeting did have to be open to the public. As we go through budget negotiations, all of you are very aware, we are facing challenging times. We may have more special meetings for our council. We want them to be very informed. We want to be, as a whole, this administration, very transparent. And so citizens will be invited, but it will be informational meetings for council. So when they come back to the table and they have the information, they have the needed materials, facts to make decisions. With everything going on, the public will have an opportunity as we move into this budget season to have an open house. Our goal after this meeting tonight, that as we move forward, the questions that many people had, there was lots of questions, a lot of misinformation, a lot of like, oh, we're going to be paying for services or this or that. That's not the case. That's not the case. This administration does not spend money unless it's critical. And as Council Member Darcy said, we welcome you to come in, council members, to look at our vouchers or invoices, so you have an understanding. What I would ask is that we are operating lean. Please give staff, make an appointment with them if you are interested in doing this, because they are wearing a lot of different hats, as all of us are. Budget season, as Clerk Grove announced, will begin October 1st. That is our first budget meeting, with all of the questions and people doing offhand calculations and speculations about sewer balances, sewer funds. The first council meeting of October 1st, our CPA is going to come in and do a very thorough presentation, historical to date, where we are, what we paid, so people in this community, council members, will fully understand it. So the goal is, after this meeting, we won't have our next council agenda out there, but we certainly are going to advertise this budget workshop. And I will be on Johnny, I will be talking about it, we're gonna have it in the paper. We want a full house. I want people to hear the facts. And so that meeting, we will be reviewing all that. Tara is an expert. She will be able to provide the facts that is needed in a way that people will be able to understand. And there'll be a question and answer period at that time for citizens. moving on, we had a very successful festival in the park, and a volunteer pancake breakfast. We had over 24 vendors, 3 different musicians. The weather cooperated, which was good. And it was just another really great event. We were able to partner with the fire department and the Lions Club, and we appreciate that. Moving on, we do have 3 volunteers who have been active volunteers in our community with projects that want to be involved with our park committee. And going forward, there will be regular meetings held, and we will have either both of our park members, council members, or one of them to represent that committee to report back to the other council and to the citizens. And I want to thank you for those volunteers that constantly step up. And so moving on, and if you, the 3 volunteers are Mr. Allen, Marnie Schumacher, and Denise Newman. And as you all know, you see them out and about, and they're active volunteers. And so we welcome them to that committee. Moving on to new business, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Sedor.
Okay, item number 1 is it's a parcel north of 1020 Disler. 1020 Disler is that new modular manufactured home that was just put in. The property behind them is in the wetlands and belongs to the city. They would like to purchase the property so that there's no development in the future. They want to keep it as it is. We did get one analysis of the value of the property, and which is basically the same price that the county has as the assessed valuation on it. The only caveat that I would have would be that at some time back, I don't know, 10 plus years, there was a drainage ditch that was divided to 2 properties. And so I would recommend that if the council approves that parcel to be sold to the people that own 1020 Disler, that there be an easement across the property in order to maintain that ditch and to make sure. It's a pretty substantial ditch, so I doubt if there'd be much maintenance to it, but there are times when the beavers get in there and need to be cleared out. So I would recommend that an easement be put in there on the paperwork for access across their property to maintain that ditch.
And we won't be taking action on that, that's information for you. But moving on to item 2, Mr. Sedor, this is something that we hope to take action on tonight.
Sorry, do you have an opportunity for discussion now? I just have some questions.
That's when, yeah.
The discussion now, or is it at the,
Probably when you go to vote for it.
when we go to vote? That was my understanding. Okay, and then item 2?
Well, let's see, do you have something on item number 1?
That's right.
I just wanted to get some clarification on a parcel. Is that historically owned by the city, or was that something we acquired more recently?
I think it was owned by the city at one point in time, and the current owners bought the property where they put the manufactured home, which was in conjunction with both properties, and they determined they got a grade and fill permit in 1995 to fill from the Army Corps, but they were only allowing them to fill a certain amount, which is where the manufactured home is. So they decided they didn't want the other half, so they sold it back to the city.
Thank you.
And then now they want to buy it back from the city.
So that's something that the Army Corps should have to come out and take a look at, because it is, I mean, the ditch is like right behind somebody else's house, and if somebody just, you know, and we're not really experienced or whatever, started messing with it, they could cause a flooding
The-
situation?
The ditch that I'm talking about is
Yeah.
is directly behind the people that own 1020 Disler.
Oh, okay, so you, well, yeah, because I've been out there, so I kind of know.
Yeah,
There is
it,
a drain that kind of runs
there's,
behind.
there's a
Brown
T
Tower.
there. You've got the
Yeah,
alley right away.
yeah,
That goes between, 1020 and 9 something Burns, I think, or 8 something Burns. The old, Bob Dieter's.
right,
Yeah, Dieter's property
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
There's that ditch there that has historically been there and has been maintained, but when they maintained that ditch years ago, apparently the other ditch behind 1020 was put in place. I don't know the reason why or what, but
there's culverts that may need to be put in there as opposed to.
no, there's no culverts in there, and
I mean, is it something?
they want it.
Or should look at?
They want to buy the property from the city so that it stays
Right.
in the wetlands,
Yeah.
because they like the animals, the deer and
Right.
everything that are going back there.
Yeah.
So there will not be any improvements. Any improvements in the future, if they want to, would have to go through the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, that's,
And I highly doubt that the Army will approve anything.
right, yeah, 'cause it's swampy.
What was the assessed value
Yeah,
of
that
that
was
land?
the question.
The county assessed value of it was $6,300. And the market analysis came in with the same figure.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to 1312 First Street, that was brought up last month. There was a question as far as utilities and everything. A locate was put in for that property, and unfortunately something, I don't know, there was a misunderstanding, so it was voided. I had a discussion with them on Monday, and a new locate was put in, which is supposed to be done by tomorrow. But a previous locate that had been done on that property when the new city hall was to be built over there, all the utilities were in the alley right away. But I'm having the whole property surveyed just to be on the safe side. But that would be any people that are subjects that would buy that property would have to do a locate anyway if they're gonna build something there. But as I indicated, most of what I saw on the previous locates, and when we marked the property over here, it showed that the utilities were in the alley right away, so it wouldn't even be included on that property. I did have a market analysis, contacted 2 real estate agents. I've received 1 back, and it's well above what the county has assessed valuation for the property. And that includes the portion of the gravel portion here that will be taken away from the sale of that property because it needs to be added to the existing city hall because there's entrance, exit through there for the police department and city hall. I did have I had a surveyor talk to a surveyor as far as, because there'll need to be a boundary line adjustment between the properties so that gravel section will be added to that. The 1300 City Hall property and taken away from 1312. And that valuation for that came in at about $1,200. So, and that, would be in essence, part of the sale of the property because the payment of that for the boundary line adjustment would come out of that sale. Eventually.
What was that lot assessed at, by the builder?
It was, the market analysis came in at $74,000. And I think the county's assessment is only like 63.
That always a little on that.
Yeah.
Plus the opportunity of somebody being able to.
Yeah, like I said, I still haven't received, I'm hoping to get 2 more market analysis from real estate agents, but I haven't heard from the second one and I haven't been able to get a hold of the third one.
So you mentioned there's an alleyway between there, but it's just overgrown and no longer an alleyway? It's just easement and alleyway? Cause there's no alleyway that's accessible outside this doorway.
Right
Just
outside
beside the
here.
exit of the police department side.
Oh,
It's where the telephone poles and everything go
Yeah.
through here. That's the
Gotcha.
alley right away.
Yeah,
That's
it
where all the
goes
sewer
way down
line
through town.
and the water lines and everything are.
but I mean, as of right now, that alleyway is grass, gravel, and there's no exit way.
Right,
Yeah,
And then it looks like Bob's RV is built in the alleyway.
yeah.
So it's not really an alleyway anymore. You know, when do we lose the alleyway as set, terminology for it? Because I mean, I don't see any alleyway here, that's what concerns me. But if we call that an alleyway when we sell the lot, that makes sense, but it just doesn't present as an alley, that's what's concerning.
no, but that's not gonna be.
No, it's a platted alleyway, but that's, city has easements across the property there for the utilities.
Gotcha.
So it would never be opened up as an alley right away.
Alright, just wondering, thank you.
So at this time, I will open the floor for public comment for agenda items only. Please state your first name. Please address your comments to the council and city staff. This is not a question and answer time, but a comment period. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes.
My name's Steve. It doesn't sound like you're ready to vote on the surplus of that property at this point. The questions I have is, what do we do, A, with the money that we receive from surplus property? And how is that earmarked, and do you earmark it before you surplus it? And the other question is when you declare property as surplus, what do you do to divest yourself of it? And what's the process? And does the city have a written policy on how to divest ourselves of surplus property? So does it just go to sale, and somebody can buy it? Does it go to sale at a bid? Does it go to sell at a sealed bid or an auction? Or is it a direct sale to another government agency? Or how are those things done here? It's changed over the years, and the I think the city development person who was earmarked with that duty and to sell it in the best interest of the city. But one of the things moving forward to try to be more transparent and more, cautious is having that plan in place as you surplus something. How are you going to get rid of it? If we have a vehicle for sale, is it a sealed bid? I think that verbiage should be in that declaration as you put it up for sale.
Okay. Again, just a reminder, this is a comment period only.
That was my comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other comments? Okay. We'll move on. Moving on to new business, council action. Is there a motion to move forward on the surplus of 1312 First Street that was brought before at the last council meeting and then tonight.
Councilman Nguyen motions to approve the sale of 1312 First Street as surplus property.
Council Darcy seconds that.
Any discussion?
Just in response to Mr. Davis's questions, I want to make sure I also understand what happens from there. My understanding is generally it would go to surplus auction. Is that correct?
We will be working with the attorney on this, and we also will have to go into executive session when an offer is made on that, those steps that we have to go through that answers that question.
I'm only familiar with the process that some cities use where they use a web auction service, so I'm not sure what other options might be available to us or what's most appropriate. And then to his question about what happens to those funds, I presume they become available in the general fund?
Yes, that is a plan. As you all know, we're in a deficit, and transparency is always a big key, and I will say this administration is very transparent. Come into the office, we are there. People use social media as a platform. Come in and ask questions. We are happy to answer those questions. We have a very hardworking administration and council members who are very involved, and I think they're very receptive to citizens. Okay, so there was a motion, there was a second, is that correct? Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, moving forward, the motion to surplus that property and move forward with it passes this evening. Okay. Okay. Public comment at this time, we will open the floor for general comment. Please state your name. Again, address the council, the staff, not one person. Please be respectful, and your time will start when I tell you in just a moment. Trying something different than this evening. So, okay. Are there any comments at this time? Seeing none. Council comments.
I have some brief comments. I did join the sewer workshop a bit late, but I had an opportunity to overhear most of it. I reached out to the mayor, I think in the middle of the workshop via email, to express my frustration that there was a really protracted discussion about our sewer infiltration issues, and I think, I want to say that conversation went on for about half an hour about what can we do about sewer infiltration. So I do just want to raise the point, as I'm going to be approaching the Planning Commission with this proposed ordinance again for a street plan, or street tree plan. And I'll just read a little bit here about the importance of tree-lined streets as they pertain to sewer infiltration. So trees absorb excess water, they reduce stormwater runoff, they increase soil infiltration that is different from sewer infiltration. Soil infiltration is good, sewer infiltration bad. The canopies for trees promote evaporation, they filter pollutants, and they can reduce sewer infiltration from 65 to 100% when planted strategically. So that's one of many reasons I'll be pursuing the tree plan for the city. You can read about this stuff from the EPA, the Arbor Day Foundation. There are numerous sources that talk about the importance of city trees to reduce sewer infiltration. It is not a unique problem to Cosmopolis. It is something that hundreds, if not thousands of cities all across the country are dealing with, and this is the way that many of those cities have chosen to deal with their sewer infiltration problems, which for us is of course a significant expense to our citizens. I could also go on for 5 other reasons why it's really important that we have a city tree plan. But in essence, the ordinance that we've looked at in the past merely gives the planning commission the authority to develop that plan to be voted on by the council. So I will be reaching out to the planning commission, to discuss that. I'm severely underslept and over-caffeinated right now. But I will also gladly discuss that plan with any council members or other city staff that have concerns or just want more information. I went out and took a quick measurement today just as an FYI of what is the span of space from sidewalk to sidewalk on my streets, just right outside my home, 60 feet. 60 feet of space where there's no growth, nothing to absorb a significant amount of rainfall, and that's throughout a large percentage of our city. So I think it's really important for that reason and many others that we get this plan moving. Ideally, it would have been 10, 20, 50, 100 years ago that we planted trees and had, nice tree-lined streets. But today, or sometime this year, would be, the next best thing, I think. That concludes my comment.
Council member, any other comments this evening? I'm not hearing any. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Council Garcia motions to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Councilmember Collette seconds.
There'll be no business for this meeting. I'm calling the meeting adjourned at this time.
Jeremy and his trees.